students like Ayla Admire, a client of ours, who grew up in poverty, the child of a single mother. She couldn't always afford to pay the electric bill when she was a child growing up. Her mother could not afford that. Remembering the times when the electricity would just shut off, Ayla told us that although she desperately wanted to become a mother, she would not put her kids through what she went through as a child. Therefore, she went to Everest College in Reseda, hoping to pull herself out of poverty, to someday have a job that paid enough that her own children would not suffer from financial insecurity. The recruiters showed her glossy brochures filled with starting salaries and placement rates that had nothing to do with reality. We all know what happened next. Now Ayla owes over $17,000 in student loan debt, struggling to make minimum payments while keeping afloat working at Cost Plus World Market. Her degree is worthless to her, and she has not started a family yet. Ayla has submitted a request for defense to repayment. She deserves to have every cent discharged, having suffered the exact same kind of misrepresentations that we now know were part of a calculated scheme at Corinthian to lure in students through aggressive sales tactics. In the brief time I have, I will focus on a few issues, and we will be submitting detailed written comments as well, and my colleague Dexter Rapley will also provide a few more comments. Number one, there must be a process for automatic class-wide defenses to repayment to be made in a cost-effective and administratively efficient manner in the numerous instances where the department becomes aware of a class-wide violation of state or federal law. Many schools have instituted deceptive marketing practices that permeate an entire recruitment process. Such evidence is available to the Department of Education, whether based on audits, investigations, student complaints, consumer advocates, not to mention law enforcement or other actions against the schools. However, it must not be dependent upon judicial findings because public proceedings that actually end in a determination are so rare. Number two, such relief must be given automatically. It should not be an opt-in process. Because the department is collecting on the debt, it knows which students attended which schools, and it has their addresses and contact information. The discharge provided to certain former healed students, by contrast, really is an empty promise to most students. Even with what the department views as simple forms that are provided in June for these students, we are being inundated with students who are confused about whether the relief applies to them, how to fill out the forms, whether they can even download the forms, and often they do not have the documentation or information requested. There are thousands more who never even hear about it, so relief must be opt-out, not opt-in. Number three, arbitration clauses. The Department of Education, we know, does not have sufficient resources to adequately investigate each and every school to confirm whether they have engaged in misconduct. Neither do the state's attorneys general or the other governmental agencies. But because so many of these schools have arbitration clauses, students are often forced to bring claims when they bring them in secret, one-sided proceedings with limited discovery. The department should follow the lead of agencies such as the Department of Defense, which has banned the use of forced arbitration clauses on credit products that are offered to U.S. service members. The Department of Education can similarly limit participation in its Title IV programs to institutions that do not have mandatory arbitration clauses and class action waivers in their enrollment contracts. Ending forced arbitration clauses and class action waivers may be the only way to make sure that schools are not artificially shielded from liability for years, only to declare bankruptcy, as happened recently with the collapse of Corinthian. Other issues that should be on the agenda include ensuring that there is no statute of limitations on the defense to repayment, ensuring that Fell, Perkins, and consolidated loans are included in the defense to repayment regulations, amending the regulations to stop the manipulation of cohort default rates and 90-10 calculations, updating the requirements for existing categories of false certification discharges, reinstating Pell Grant eligibility. There's a California bill currently on the governor's desk that would reinstate eligibility for a similar Pell Grant program, and we know that most of our clients want to continue their education once they realize their degree is worthless, but they are penalized if they cannot access the grants that were wasted on their prior school. Next, ensure that any discharge of debt is non-taxable and that the student's credit scores are restored. ensure that the standard is based on federal law as well as state law to ease the administration by the Department of Education and to ensure fairness to students from all 50 states. And finally, to ensure that the procedures for recovering money by the Department of Education from the schools does not interfere with getting timely relief for the students. While the department should clearly promulgate rules regarding recoupment of money from the schools, the department should also take pains to make sure that any such rules do not create any perverse incentives for schools to take actions that will hold up on getting students the debt discharges they are entitled to. Thank you so much.